Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of Hardstuck Heroes. My name's Peanut, and I'm here with my good friend Amusey,
Hi.
and we are here to talk a little bit of pro Valorant today. Trying to hop on that esports craze as soon as we can.
Champions is right around the corner. I'm freaking excited.
It is right around the corner, and we are probably two of the lowest ranked players that are actually consistently watching this. But there's nothing wrong with that.
No, nothing at all.
Nothing wrong with
Just as
that.
obsessed as everyone else.
Exactly. So, anyway, as we said, Champions right around the corner, and today we have prepared a little bit of a deeper dive into some of the games that we are going to be watching in the first round of Champions today. We both picked two matches out from one from each of the groups. One match from ours will one. Excuse me. One of our matches is a first round match that is guaranteed to happen. It is one of the randomly drawn matches that we've seen, and the second match that we have each picked is a possible matchup that we will see in the second round of this group stage. We'll see where our predictions go. We'll see what kind of insight we have. We're just looking to kind of take a little bit of a deeper dive into some of these teams, and we're avoiding Sentinels at all cost. Is that not right?
Nothing about Sentinels here.
Now, there is nothing to talk about with that team. There's just, they don't have, they may have gotten a new coach, but we're not worried about that. We are worried about everything but Sentinels because they're not going to win. Okay. You got anything else before we get started here?
No, let's get right into it.
All right. So, like I said, we are looking at a couple different games, some that are guaranteed to happen in the first round, others that are possible. Looking at Group A, our first matchup that we are looking at today is what I am guessing will be the winners finals of Group A. We're looking at Ascend versus Envy. Ascend plays Keystars in the first round. Should be an easy win. I mean, we've seen a lot of good stuff from the Brazilian region, but nothing that has Ascend has just been on a tear recently. And same thing on the Envy side. Unfortunately, I would love to believe in our SEA teams in X10, but it's gonna be unfortunate. They most likely will lose to Envy. So I am assuming that both of those go the way of Ascend and Envy, and we're looking at the winners finals there. Now, the two teams have both had some roster switches recently. Most notably has been Envy. Envy recently picked up Ye from Anbox, and he has been basically he's a duelist all the way. He is Jet only. He only plays Jet, and he has thrown them some crazy possibilities with his opping throughout. They haven't played since Masters Berlin, so they've been very quiet for a long time. Sentinels is the same way. A lot of NA teams actually are very quiet right now, except for C9. But Envy, besides losing to Sentinels in Challengers a couple months ago, which they then redeemed by beating them at Masters, and losing 100 Thieves also at Challengers, the only other team they've lost to is Gambit, the supposed best team in the world right now. Envy is looking very good, I'd say. This new team, Marved is relatively new for them as well. Yay, like I said, is very new. It's just they're looking like they're on a different level. FNS as their IGL has shown the ability to adapt to all sorts of different things. I'm very much liking this team. On the other side, you have Ascend. Ascend, it's hard in this moment right now. It's hard not to talk about what's going on with them. They are also an excellent team. They did incredibly well at Masters. They lost just by a smidge to 100 Thieves who came back on them. Right now, they are having a little bit of an issue as their star duelist might be caught up in some legal troubles. If he does end up playing, and I'm going to assume that they are, it's a force to be reckoned with. Envy versus Ascend is going to be a big game. Both teams have maps that they're very good at. I think Ascend has a 95% win rate on Bind. So we're looking at an easy win from them there if they are able to pick that up. And also looking on the other side, Envy is, I think, in the time that they've had Yay, so they've had this roster together, they're 85%. They're 5-1 on Ascent. So I would say they both have an easy chance of picking up those maps. I'm not sure what the picks and bans are going to be. Fracture, I'm going to start this off right now and possibly spoil a lot of what we're going to talk about, but Fracture is going to throw a wrench in everything. I don't know if you've seen any
Is
info
Fracture
on
in this?
Fracture.
I didn't know that.
Fracture is in this. I am guessing that Fracture will have. If there is a team that has been able to figure out Fracture, it will blow this tournament wide open. It will give. I mean, if they have been able to figure it out and feel like they can master it and like they can use it like G2 and other teams use Icebox, 100 Thieves is very similar. I think they'll have a very good time in this tournament.
I'm looking at the match stats. Ascend actually has a 100% win rate on Fracture, although they've only played one game.
Yeah, I saw that.
There's no percentages on Envy for that.
I saw that a couple times. I think there's one of the other teams I was looking at also has 100%. They've just played one game on Fracture. If they've only played one, I didn't really take it into account. Because it was also most likely during the Red Bull home ground, which, from what I've heard, a lot of people are wondering how serious all the players took it.
More of a show match.
Yeah, possibly. But either way, if one of these teams, I might say this for all of my breakdowns. We'll see what I say next week, I'm sure. But at least for this one, if one of these teams has been able to figure out Fracture, which I'm looking at FNFs and the rest of Envy for that, I would guess that they would be able to pull this out. Just looking at my stats, I think I see. I don't know if I don't want it to be my NA copium, but I'm gonna put Envy up probably 2-1 on this one.
You touched on this for a second. It really depends on if they have their whole team there or not.
Yeah.
Because they're a great team together, but if first off, if they can't get a full team, which I'm sure they will, they'll have to play. Do they have a backup?
According to VLR, they do not have a listed player. They have a manager. They have a coach, but that doesn't mean that could be a player. I can't think of anybody in EU that they could possibly pick up as a free agent as a just in case. Even so, I mean, we've seen, we've seen V1 version 1 at Masters in Iceland play with a backup and do incredibly well. But at the rate Ascend was going, especially with who CNET is, I just don't see it working.
Yeah. Plus, if you have to throw in a player that you're not used to playing with,
Yeah,
into
but
a championship like this,
right. But assuming that CNET is playing, and I think that's what we should assume right now. What do you see here?
Ascend versus Envy, I think Envy's gonna take it.
Mhm.
Probably 2-1. Yeah,
Alright.
just about the same.
Well, cool. I'm looking forward to the if if it does happen, we got a good CNET versus EA Jet matchup. We'll get some Korean duelists out there, and like I said, FNS is an incredibly good IG. I'll check them out as well. Most likely on a Cypher or a Killjoy, maybe a Viper. All right.
Steady matchup for sure, though. Either way.
Yes, incredible. It's a good first round or a good second round, but I would guess that we would see that. If we don't see that, it's probably Keat Stars versus Envy. I don't know if Keat Stars can beat Ascend, but I'd love to see it with hey, if they stick around until next week, we'll talk about MW Zera and why he is so good. But that is for another day. What do you got from Group B?
Well, Group V is also my possible lineup here. I'm sorry, where's Group B? I lost my place. So I have them both in the decider round. I think they're both going to end up there. Um, with Crew losing,
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
I see. Okay, so yes, I see.
Mhm.
You know they're playing in the opening match though.
Yes, yes. I think they're going to lose. I think Crew is going to lose in the opening match, and then Liquid's going to move on and play the team that we're not talking about, and then they're going to lose to them and then go down to the side round.
Okay, so you are assuming off the bat that Liquid has already beaten this team once at this
Liquid
point.
has beaten Crew once, and
Okay.
then Crew goes down to the elimination round, beats Furia, moves on to the decider. Liquid goes on to fight that other team, and then they go down to the decider as well for a second match against Crew
Okay.
in the decider. Yeah, yeah.
Gotcha.
First off, if we're gonna talk about this, you have to talk about the giant that Liquid is. First off, they have Scream. Scream is one of the best players in my opinion in the league. He's a great player. They're second ranked in the EU. They have a lot going for them, but most importantly, Liquid just wins games. They're good. They constantly win. Most of the time in any matches that they play, they at least, if they do lose, they at least take one round off the other team. It's very hard to find a game where they go 0 and 2. It's irregular at least. They
Yeah.
win. They have a lot going for them, and then you have Crew. Um, they're the number one team for their region, but they have a lot of inconsistency. If you look through their match history, it's a lot of either 2-0 or 0-2. And anytime they actually have like a 1-2 situation, if you look at the stats, you can just tell they lost and they just lost all their momentum and they go down. So if Crew hopes to beat Liquid, they're gonna have to take it 2-0 because their mental will get absolutely destroyed if they lose. I have Crew beating this. I really want Crew to win. I know that's a hopeful I know that's hopeful and it goes against all logic, but I want Crew to win. I want Latin America to do something here.
Yeah.
It's kind of an underdog thing, but I want to see it. I want to see it. I will say though, on their maps, Liquid's worst map, I believe, is Bind. Yeah, their worst map is Bind, and Crew's best map is Bind. And on the flip side, one of Liquid's best maps is Breeze, which happens to be Crew's worst map. So if they have any hope of beating Liquid, they're gonna have to either get Breeze banned or get Bind picked, which will also be interesting because if there is Fracture, neither of these teams, I didn't know there's Fracture. If there is Fracture, neither of these teams have stats on them, so I have no idea what's gonna happen if they go into Fracture, but I mean, it could be anyone's game, assuming nobody just bans it for the sake of banning it because nobody wants to play it.
Yeah.
Which I hope does not happen. But Crew has good stats. It's just they're going up against Liquid, one of the giants of Valorant esports.
Hmm.
It's hard, but I think when they lose to them the first time and they go down, I think they're going to have a lot more to prove. And I'm not going to say Liquid's going to be like, oh, we beat them once, it'll just be easy, we don't really have to try. I think there's definitely going to be trying involved, but I think Crew's going to fight harder because they nobody wants to lose to the same team twice. so, so they're going to come
Nobody
down to
wants. Nobody
nobody
wants to
wants to
lose.
lose, period. But
Yeah.
to lose to the same team twice, it's just that's just embarrassing. So I think they're gonna fight a lot harder. They have something to prove, and they're gonna take Liquid by surprise in this decider round because Liquid's gonna come into it thinking we beat him once, we can do it again. Just let's go in there, let's play, and then go. And I just think Crew's gonna take it at the very end of the day. I really hope Crew wins. I'm gonna be watching it very closely.
I hope your copium comes through. I worry about Scream, and I worry about Scream's brother Navera. But I hope you can believe that through to the finals right there.
For my prediction, I'm just gonna go ahead and say Crew wins 2-0 because there's no other way
Damn.
they're gonna win unless it's 2-0.
I would not put money on that, my friend. Not a chance.
But I want it to happen so bad.
Hey, we all like I said, we all have our copium. I've got mine.
So moving on to Group C, I think it's my game as well.
I think so, yeah.
This is my starting game. Okay, so for Group C, I actually have Gambit and Vikings playing each other. And I'm thinking Gambit's going to beat Secret, and Vikings are going to beat Crazy Raccoons because Crazy Raccoons haven't they haven't done anything in a while.
No.
So I think it's going to go into the winners circle, and it's going to be Gambit versus Vikings. However, the problem with that is it's Gambit and Vikings. Vikings is the third ranked team in Brazil, and Gambit is number one in EU, which takes up a large scene of the esports scene all in total. So Gambit's one of the best teams going against Brazil, and I want to see Brazil teams. I'm going to be watching Brazil teams throughout the entire thing. But specifically this match, it's going to be interesting. I don't think Vikings are going to win. I don't. I'm almost positive Gambit's going to win unless Vikings pull something out and they just go God mode, which is a complete slap in the face to Gambit, which I would love to see, but I just don't see Gambit winning. I mean, if we're talking about stats in general, just for maps alone, the Vikings' best map is Split with 80% win rate, and Gambit's they have a 72 win rate on Split. And that's their best map. They're only down by like one game just on percentage alone.
Hmm.
Additionally, Gambit's worst map is Haven, with a 67% win rate, and Vikings is 61%. So if you just look at stats alone, Gambit crushes them in stats. Um, Vikings, I don't see them winning. I'm gonna root for them. I have Gambit beating them, but at the end of the day, Gambit's just gonna win. Also, oddly enough, Vikings still play Breach in their comp. Um, which I mean,
Mm.
it's not overly weird to see, but ever since they nerfed Breach and Sky came in, there just really hasn't been any Breach picks. So
Yeah,
it's
you've seen a little bit of breach come out of Korea. If unfortunately, we're not going to get to
Mhm.
talk a ton about Vision Strikers this week, but I have a faith that we'll see them later. But sometimes you'll see some breach jet plays in Korea, and maybe that's what's I don't know. Does that look like what's going on in Brazil or
it
no?
it looks. I'm gonna have to pull the team stats back up really quick.
Yeah.
But if I remember correctly, it's pretty consistent that they play Breach, which I've heard Brazil has a different take on the game. So maybe they have something going with Breach that we don't know about. Maybe they'll surprise us or something like that. But they play a lot of Breach, and it's confusing to me. But you know, to each their own, I guess. If it's an agent you're comfortable with, you're always going to play better with a comfortable agent. Um, do I think it's smart to do so? No. I think Sky's a much better pick for what they're trying to accomplish with Breach, but
Mhm.
you know,
It looks like does Vikings have a zero? Vikings have never played Breeze. Is that their perma ban?
yes, they have no stats on Breach whatsoever, which is unfortunate
I've never
because
seen that before.
considering who they're playing, um, if they
Yeah,
have to play Breeze, because they don't have any stats on Fracture, that's pretty standard for all teams. But I mean, one of them has to. How many bans are there? There's like one ban, right? So
I think the way they're gonna do it is ban every. So this is at least how I've heard about it in CS for a best of three game. Team A bans one, Team B bans one, Team A bans another, Team B bans another, Team A picks one, Team B picks one,
mhm.
and
Okay.
then you have the third map.
Well,
So everybody gets two bans basically.
in either case, um,
Mhm.
they have zero stats on Breeze or Fracture. So if they ban Breeze and Gambit has something for Fracture and they don't ban Fracture, um, it's gonna be hot water
That'll be tough
for
for
Vikings.
for sure.
They don't have the best stats. Um, but I'm interested to see what happens.
You can be. I mean, I think there is every right to be interested, dude. I think, you know, Gambit is a monster of a team,
Hmm.
to say the very least. Everything we saw with them at Masters was, I mean, scary. And aside from that one game against Hundred Thieves, and just watch that before I go to bed every night. Um, Mats is disgusting. Defo is scary. Redgar and his posture can
Scare me.
win games just on posture alone. I don't know. Have you seen that? Have you seen the pictures? He's,
I believe
he's
so. Yeah.
it's scary. But that team is them in their jackets. They're pretty good.
Yeah. Gambit's such a scary team.
It is.
Every time I think about him. But yeah, I think it's gonna go Gambit, 2-0.
Hmm.
But I will be pleasantly surprised if Vikings even manages to get one map off them.
Okay. Do you see Gambit? So you see them meeting in the winners, and then
Hmm.
Vikings going down to losers. Who do you see winning that matchup? In losers, I guess that would be Vikings versus either Secret or Crazy Raccoon again.
Um,
Like, do you
I
see
have
Vikings qualifying?
I don't know a lot about Secret. I haven't done a lot of research on Secret, but I do have them beating Crazy Raccoons because I just don't see Crazy Raccoons doing anything. I
Okay.
did put Vikings down to beat Secret, um, but that's just purely based on the fact that I know more about Vikings than I do Secret.
Okay. Sounds good. So you got Vikings and Gambit there.
Hmm.
which is probably what I put in my picks as well. All right, we are getting close on time, so we're gonna move on to this last game. Looking down at Group D. Oh no, Spotify, don't open on me now. Looking down at Group D here, we have Cloud9 versus Fnatic. Probably, I would say Group D is largely considered the group of death. You know, you've got C9, Fnatic playing in the first round, and then on the other part of the bracket, you've got Vision Strikers. Yes, there's also Full Sends, but looking at the first three teams I mentioned, it's a pretty scary group there.
It's gonna be a
Like I said,
bloodbath.
it is a bit of a bloodbath. Interesting thing about C9, they have been together. You know, they added Vanity. Vanity was the most recent player that they added, who is their IGL. Like usually you'd think about it when you switch your IGL this late into the game, it's a little bit scary. That being said, ever since they have added Vanity to this team, he has been and they've been on an absolute tear. LCQ they only lost one. I think they only lost one map. No, they only lost one. It was just one game. They lost 2-1 to Rise. Since then, they were on a no lose streak through the NSG Summer Championships. Um, and basically, what I'm saying is, since Vanity has gotten there, they have, I mean, skyrocketed. Right now, their best map is actually Breeze. That is going to be huge in this team with what they have. Leaf is a crazy good jet opper, and they also have like this is we talked about a little bit. I think this was off camera, but we talked about how you sometimes you see players switching roles a little bit.
Hmm.
T9 I would say is very solid in what they play. Zeta is always on the Sova. Vanity is their IGL, and he is basically just a smoker. He is Astra or Viper. The only switches you really have are Zeppa playing KO or Raze. They're one of the few teams that's running KO right now, so I'm very excited to see that. By the way, we will not see Chamber in it. That was
Uh,
confirmed the other day.
well, at least we got
Um,
fractured.
yeah, at least we got Fracture. So C9 is basically on like the biggest hot streak right now. On the other side, we have Fnatic. Fnatic is a team that is near and dear to my heart. I love Boaster. I love everything about this team. They've been together for a very long time. Now, they did not qualify to this tournament by winning a specific match. They didn't win any of the tournaments recently. They qualified by points. Because Gambit won Masters Berlin, they were able to make it because Gambit got the Masters spot, so the EU points moved up one spot and Fnatic was the next in line. So they got to
Mhm.
go. They're still a very good team, but they've had a little bit of a rocky they've been on a rocky path recently. They've had some trouble in Red Bull home ground tournament. They had some trouble in some of the other EU tournaments as well. That being said, they have a pretty good record on bind. Um, so looking at the matchup, I see Icebox also going very well for them. I have them winning on more maps, Fnatic, than I do on C9. But I just with this is 100% NA copium, but C9 is just looking so good. Vanity is an incredible IGL. He's got an incredible like CS background himself, as well as I think every single person on his team has recent CS background. Um, I see C9 pulling this out. I want to say 2-0. I'm going to just say 2-0. 2-0 C9. They're going to go on to play Vision Strikers, and I pray for them there. But C9 should pull this out, I would say.
I have very high hopes for C9.
Yeah.
Um, and just to recap what you said they were on a hot streak, which is kind of an understatement because they are winning almost all of their matches. Just the past couple matches, I mean, big names like Genji, Exet, 100 Thieves, Moment of Silence, and then they beat Rise. Just they're beating big teams. And by like 3-0, 2-1, 2-0. It's not just like by the skin of their teeth. They're winning and they're thriving. They are very hot right now.
hmm
So I am very excited to see what Cloud9's gonna do. I want them to win the whole thing.
I mean, I'd love to see them win the whole thing. I think they've got some competition. I think seeing them up against Gambit will be very scary. We haven't seen them up against any other NA teams in a little bit, or I mean, We have seen them against NA teams. We haven't seen them up against these NA teams, Envy and the one who must not be named. And then the EDU teams are a mystery. I'm scared about Liquid. I am so scared not for Liquid. I'm scared for the teams that go up against Liquid. Scream and Navera are insane together. And Navera got just the buff of getting an ace on your first pro round of Valorant
which is insane.
Just like
getting an ace in anything for your first career show match, or not show match, but game.
Incredible. I mean, the guy's a great player. So I see them going far. I do see C9 making it out of groups. Hopefully they can hold their own against Vision Strikers. I would love to see Vision Strikers pull this out. If they could beat the unnamed team, then chef's kiss to them. We'll see what happens. You got any other maybe some spicy takes going into this last bit? Anybody somewhat, I don't know. You see any team qualifying that you wouldn't expect everybody else to see?
I mean, not really. I'm interested to see what Vision Strikers does. If anything else, just because Vision Strikers they're Vision Strikers. Is that the only Korean team, or there others?
Yes.
Yeah,
it
the
is the
only Korean team. I hope they do good. I hope they can do something. I have them dropping down to the decider round, winning. I had them beating Full Sins and then losing to Cloud9 and dropping down to the decider where they play Fnatic. But I still hope to see them do something phenomenal. I'm scared of a lot of these teams like Gambit and Liquid and Sentinels. Just there's a lot of teams in here who just dominate, and then just randomly throughout there these other teams that some have never heard of, and then just there's a lot going on.
There is a lot going on, and we are very excited to get into this tournament starting very soon. Actually, what's the 20? We're recording on the 23rd. I'm not sure exactly when this will come out, but within a week from tomorrow, based on when we're recording. So we'll have the Fnatic C9 is the first match. Is that the first match of the day, or the first match that I paid attention to?
One second, let me look it up here. I have it here somewhere.
Vision Strikers Full Sense,
yep.
Vikings Crazy Raccoon, and Fnatic C9. Those start at 6 a.m. Pacific, and the last game is estimated to start at 12 p.m. Pacific. Yep. So
and then
we shall see.
Just as a full recap of everything, I hope Brazil does good. The Brazil region, I hope they do good at all.
I hope they do good at all.
I hope they do good at all. That is my full take on Champions. I hope Brazil does good.
I hope they do good at all. I think that is a perfect way to end this first episode of Hardstuck Heroes. As I said before, my name is Peanut. You can find me, I guess, at Warlord Peanut on Twitter, and that is it. Sometimes you can find me modding the other person in this call's chat. You can check him out.
Yeah, on socials, I'm pretty much just Amusey everywhere. Twitch.tv/Amusey if you want to stop by and watch my terrible Valorant gameplay.
Just god awful.
Just god awful. But yeah, just Twitch.tv/Amusey. I'm Amusey on Instagram, Twitter, pretty much all socials, TikTok. You can pretty much find me anywhere.
All right. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you at the next episode of Hardstuck Heroes.